Hi, ho everyone. My name's Mr. Fruit, and welcome to the GG Over Easy podcast, episode 46, featuring today's guest, TravelDanielle, who you'll all be hearing more about very soon. We talk about a lot of her lore, a lot of questions that raise from one, how she got to where she is, how she knows some of the people she does, like good old Datto song. We love him here. He's near and dear in our hearts. We learn where her name came from. Obviously, we talk a little bit about traveling and what all that entails, living in different places. We also, regrettably, get to the Xbox conference. I got some stuff to say. I get a little carried away. It's my bad.
No.
Maybe just skip that. And then we get to some Patreon questions and some other interesting things spread out throughout. So be sure to listen to it. It's a great one. Let's get into it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GG Over Easy podcast, episode 46.
Back.
7? Whatever it is.
46?
I think it's 46. Mics are hot. We're here live from the internet, coming to you through waves of energy, varying through, I don't know what kind of communication device.
Long wires going across the nation.
Yeah.
It's a series of
5G,
tubes.
actually. Get your shungite and your tinfoil hats. Otherwise, 5G is going to melt your brain.
Take it over, dude.
Watch out, dude. Why do you think Dr. Disrespect is banned? He knew the truth. I'm just saying. We're going to start this episode off with a review. There hasn't been a new one, though, in 9 days.
How are we going to do a review if we haven't had a review, guys?
No. What am I supposed to review? Old reviews?
You know, we default
Maybe.
to a 0-star podcast because, like, no review is just a 0. It hurts.
You can help us not be a 0-star podcast. If you donate one sentence to the Apple Podcast reviews each week.
Just one.
Just one. I don't even think you need a body of text. Just the stars. We can continue. In the arms of the
You'll get a card from Mr.
Fruit. Actually, this is fitting because on the video to my right, I have a wasted Rob. Rob is deed. He's deed. Just like our reviews.
He's in stasis right now.
He peed. Hey, I see what you did there.
Hey,
Hey, it's not time for that corner.
I should have
all right?
saved that lead in for later.
Yeah. Rob is currently not here. He is out in the mountains. He had the call of the wild, and we don't know if he's ever going to come back, actually.
He's just living there now, probably.
He just walked into the woods, bare feet, and he didn't say goodbye. So let's hope maybe one day he returns. And if a bear does eat him, hopefully it makes it quick and painless. I'm pretty sure there are bears up in Aspen. I would imagine. I should know that. I think there are mountain lions at the very least. Not important. There's plenty of stuff. I mean, honestly, I would just die from the lack of internet. That's pretty fatal.
I don't remember what my life was like before the internet. Like, it was probably miserable.
Mm-hmm. That's why I don't remember it. Why would I remember something that sounds
Sounds
miserable?
awful.
Blanked it out.
Yeah. I still vividly remember dial-up the first time I think it was at my friend's house. And they're like, hold on, let's check this out. Because we would go on for like game facts or whatever to like look up a walkthrough for some N64 game or whatever. And then their mom, I'm on the phone. It's like, oh no. It's like, get off. It's, oh. How far we've come. But anyway.
You know what else exists on the internet? Is our guest this week, TravelDanielle.
Actually, Rob's just turned into a female, you know? The audience was like, where are the girls? We're like, you're right. Let's just poof.
Rob, it's your moment, buddy.
Now we have the one, the only TravelDanielle joining us. Actually, no, my apologies. G1.
Thank you.
TravelDanielle. Apologies. One of the finest esport Destiny 2 players in the known verse.
Quite honestly, if you don't know who she is, I mean, what are you doing? Because
You
G1
live
is
under a rock.
the premier esports org for Destiny.
It's basically the best, and I'm the best of the best. So they were like, let's get her.
Yeah. Congrats.
For esports.
I'm surprised it took so long to sign you. I'm sure it's because they weren't offering enough, and you're like,
yeah,
legality stuff.
You have to know your worth, and just
Yeah.
getting the right amount is vital, especially in content creation. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
We too often are undervalued, so we appreciate you standing strong and for joining us on this episode. So we'll start this episode off with some of your lore. For those that might not know who you are, or those that do know you but maybe don't know where you came from, why don't you harken us back to the days of before TravelDanielle?
Who are you?
You can go back as far as you want, but ideally, like, kind of around when this all started, or what you did before.
Blow through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe the day you were born, and then every day since.
Just from there, give us like a little summary of each day.
Yeah.
Well, I am a content creator. Before that, I was a video producer. Before that, I was, I think, like a French major. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I did. I did most of my life has been advertising, commercial production, and then I made like TV commercials for McDonald's and Wingstop and Eddie Bauer and many things. Yeah, I've had millions of dollars in my hands, and by hands I mean like my spreadsheet.
Oh, that's crazy to think about.
Unfortunately, not mine, but
I wish, but like in my budget. So yeah, and then I I joined Twitch. Did not expect to ever stream. Was always used to being behind the camera. Loved being behind the camera. Did not love being in front of the camera. It's very intimidating. Just have to pretend it doesn't exist.
They can't see you. They're not here.
Is it looking at me? And so then I, in between D1 and D2, I was looking for some info on D2 and happened to come across a little video called D2 PvP in a nutshell. And that was made by my now friend, the Jez, and I laughed super hard.
We're just terrible, man.
How far we've come.
I know. It's like you like have to rewind back because now you're getting a preview. You know the end of the story now. But yeah, so I laughed a lot. I was going through a really rough time in life, so it was like not only like looking for fun D2 stuff to like distract me, but also like I needed the laughter and the jokes. And so I just like binged a bunch of his content, jumped into Twitch, created the TravelDanielle Twitch account as just because it was like my email address. Like I was just like, I'll just use that. And my email address was made as a spam folder for a bunch of like travel related, I joined all the frequent flyer mile programs, trying to like, have you seen Punch Drunk Love where he's like gaming the system with like a bunch of like frequent flyer mile points and stuff, trying to get free flights.
It's a hustle.
Yeah. So I did that hustle for a little bit, and that email address was just there for that. Started using it more, then it just became like, it's like, oh, that makes sense. I like to travel. That'll be my Instagram and my Twitter, and then it was on my Twitch account. And I did not expect to like build a brand or a channel or a thing around it, but I spent about 6 months just being part of the Twitch community on the viewer side, really being part of a couple of different streamers, obviously mostly Jez, and we made a video to say, congratulations, you're getting engaged, when he got engaged to Amy. And so I recorded something that was just like, yay, congrats. And he at one point was like, have you ever thought about streaming? Like, you have a great camera presence. And I was like, it sounds horrifying. I hate it. But at the time, just in my entire life, I've been kind of like, if it scares me, I should try it. Or like I took an improv class because it sounded horrible. And so I literally started streaming to just be comfortable in front of the camera, which I assumed would then help me be comfortable speaking in front of meetings or production companies or, in my like professional life, and did not kind of expect it to go where it went. So I was like, I got comfortable in front of the camera. Everything else beyond that is like, cool. Didn't plan for that. So
hey,
nice.
A happy accident.
Yeah.
It
So.
turned out pretty clearly well considering where you're at now.
Yeah, I'm just like I've always been
you're
the
on
kind.
the premier podcast. I mean, this is the tippy top. I'm sorry, but like you hit your peak. This is it.
Pretty much all downhill from here. I mean,
Yeah.
This is the icing, and you know what? I'm
Congrats on
enjoying
getting
it.
here, though.
And yeah.
Considering from where you started, though, it's crazy because now you literally have the person who got you into it right behind. Speaking of which, right there.
Look at him.
That's crazy.
He doesn't know. Now he knows.
For those audio listeners, the Jez
that man
is
inspired
creeping in the back.
right there.
Yeah.
Well, not only did he inspire the channel and at least me to like give it a go, but then was just like super. I mean, we have very similar senses of humor, and so kind of similar content where it's like goofy and silly. And so he was very kind to throw many people my way. And when we would do, you know, YouTube videos together, he would link my channel and really push it forward. So that was like really kind of the initial start, the initial like boost into like, oh, I had no idea. I didn't expect it to, you know, be more than 10 people or whatnot. And then obviously introduced me to my guy, Mr. Travel, as we call him on my channel.
Travel.
He's got like a professional name or whatever. But,
it's like it's next to the city, like Mr. Big. It's Mr. Travel.
Yeah.
Look, we know Jez is near, so blink twice if he's making you say all this nice stuff.
No, it's fine. It's coming from the heart.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Super.
I think Blue and I both know the story of how you met Datto, but obviously the people at home probably don't, or Mr. Travel. So why don't you explain that lore, how you ended up meeting that cutie and stealing him from me, by the way. Jeez.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know. Sorry. I did really grab him. I was working at an agency that did all the commercials for McDonald's. It's the last advertising agency I worked for, and I was living in Chicago. I was kind of starting to burn out and hate it and just think like, maybe I want to get into like, you know, I played Destiny a bunch. Maybe I want to get into like making videos for Bungie or making videos for like Nintendo or like any of the companies that were up here. Like the ideal at that time was like looking at the Bungie Vidocs and being like, I can produce that shit, you know? So can I say shit? Am I allowed to pass?
Let me call my producer. Let me call my Jesus. You know, I would think they'd vet these people. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, no, it's fine. Plenty worse has been said. It's all good.
Okay. Oh,
go on. Sorry. I was gonna say something, but then I was like, you know what? Just keep going. That's probably the longest we've gone without a swear word in GG Easy. Like history.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Wow.
So thank you for that.
Like a solid like 10-minute streak.
So I was like, I can produce that shit. Let's go. I was planning on coming to PAX, and then I totally whiffed and planned a girls' weekend in Montreal the same weekend. I was like, oh fuck, it's Labor Day weekend. No. So I was just like, you know, I'll go a different weekend in October. Didn't talk to anyone except for my friends who were here, and planned it for like a weekend in October. Jez's fiance, Amy, was living in Portland at the time. Jez was still living in Australia. I sent Amy a message, was like, hey, I'll be traveling from Chicago to Seattle for like a weekend. I know Portland's like an hour or two away, but just on the off, I can't make it down. On the off chance you can drive up, would love to have lunch with you. And she was like, funny story. Jez will be in America and we will both be in Seattle that weekend. Not having talked to each other, like so random. So we were stoked about that. And then that was about a month before the trip was planned. We were like, oh, we'll be there at the same time. Super stoked. And then Jez set up a content video shoot with Mr. Travel. He was gonna guide us through Last Wish. And it was Last Wish came out in September. This was like mid-October. And so Mr. Travel did his Sherpa through Last Wish, teaching us the videos. Quite excellent.
So kind and gentle, isn't he?
Yes. Ushering us through all of the content.
Children.
And so at one point I was just like, oh yeah, you live in Seattle. Dude, we're both going to be there. And he was like, yeah, cool. Let me know. I'll take you guys to Din Tai Fung because he's obsessed with Din Tai Fung.
Hey,
but it's fun.
Din Tai Fung is delicious.
It's good, but lol, I've been there a bajillion times, and now I'm like,
I've not.
little
I
taste
not-
diversity.
I cannot get enough of their dessert chocolate dumplings.
Yes. Oh, yes. Those are those I could do every day.
Fantastic. But anyway,
Every damn day. So yeah. So then we showed up in Seattle. We went to dinner. I knew almost nothing about Datto. I call him his real name, but so on my show I call him Mr. Travel.
Stefan.
Stefan. So I didn't know much about.
He told me that, and I was like,
I know it did not. You were like, that feels like a disconnect, but now it just feels so natural. So
Stefan.
Yeah. So we went to dinner. I didn't know much about him, and so I had learned. He was kind of talking about what he did before content creation, working in LA as a television PA, and I lived in LA briefly as like a film PA. When like right in the middle of I quit. I did college for 2 years and then quit and moved to LA, and literally was like I lived there right before him, and then he was there.
It's like an anime story, you know?
Yeah.
Like it would flash back to you, like accidentally brushing his shoulder 5 years ago, unknowingly. Like, oh, sorry. It's like it's okay.
Like, wait, you look familiar.
Oh.
So yeah, at one point we were leaving the restaurant, and we were walking through a big group of people because, you know, Din Tai Fung, the place to be, and there were
packed,
hordes of people outside waiting to get in. And we were walking through a crowd, and I said, when did you live in LA? I didn't realize that you did. And he, because he couldn't hear me, put his hand on the small of my back just to kind of be like, what was that? You know, just like very nice. But at the same time, I was like,
excuse me.
You coming on to me? Is that you flirt with me? Am I into this? I might be into this. All right, we'll see. And then we went to like an ice cream place after that, and we ended up sharing ice cream or whatnot, and because it was like Triple and Pat, and
Holtzman.
and Holtzman, and Jez and Amy, and so it was like Stefan was like, it just made sense. Like he was like, I wasn't even going for anything or like reading anything into it. It was just like, oh, Triple, you don't know Triple and Holtzman very well, and Jez and Amy are obviously going to share one, so like you and I, like, it makes sense. And so yeah, then it was after everyone left, he had given me his number because he drove me home, and so then I texted him that night. It was just like I didn't like know I didn't know much, but I just knew I didn't want the night to end, and I was like, I just want to see what this is. And we end because Din Tai Fung, you have to like get it. We started dinner at like 4 p.m. and we're done by like 7 p.m. and I had no plans the rest of the night. So I was in a city and all my other friends were like doing stuff. So I was like, I don't want to just sit in my Airbnb all night. So I was just like, hey, what are you doing? You want to hang out? I didn't make any plans, and I don't know if I want to like traipse into downtown Seattle to do anything. And he was like, yeah, come over. He said, you can play Destiny on my laptop because I'm going to be working.
So
I was like, neat. So yeah, so then we just like I went over and we talked for like 5-6 hours and into the wee hours of the morning, and then that was kind of the like, do you want to spend more time together? And I was like, so
one might say you didn't play Destiny, but
no, we did not. There was no Destiny and no work done.
But Destiny made its way. You know what I'm saying? I'll be here all day.
I know what you're saying.
The funny thing though is, if I'm not mistaken, like for instance, it all started with the little hand touch on the back. You said,
yeah.
And to Datto, that was literally nothing. He didn't think anything of it. Right?
He was like, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Because I couldn't hear you when we were sharing ice cream. It was just logical. You wanted to come over. I was gonna work. Like,
yeah. He was like, sure. You
were
bored.
Over and play Destiny.
Yeah. But that's, I mean, that to me though, that's kind of nice because it's like kind of refreshing from most of the like stuff that you get from dudes who like are like, cool, why don't you come over and we can bang? Or like, I'm gonna try and get you to bang. Or like, he just was like, you're a person do this. And then it was like, I'm also a lady. And he's like, oh, I see that now.
I don't know
So
if
yeah,
you noticed, but
hey. But yeah, it's just like it was kind of refreshing to just be treated like it was just a little, innocent thing. It wasn't like a rub, but I was just like, oh, he's
tell
open.
me more.
It was a very kind of like intimate, like, oh, I can't hear you. Um, but at the same time, it was just everything else was very respectful and just, come over, we'll hang, nothing, not reading into anything. And so I think it was kind of a safe friendship start that then was like, fuck the friendship. Let's go, bud. So
Let's get right
uh
into it.
let's go. But if it wasn't there, then it wasn't like, oh, leading someone on or he was reading so much into this. It was just like he treated me like a person and I was way fucking into it. So yeah.
Beautiful. It's a
Lovely.
beautiful tale.
That's the lore of Mr. Travel.
And now you guys live together in Seattle, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as we saw earlier, you are now accompanied by
Jez and Amy have moved in with us. They moved up. Jez was able to get his visa. Him and Amy got married. They lived in Portland for a while, and then their lease in Portland came up, and they were like, "What if we just move to Seattle? Be closer to Bungie, be closer to us, and kind of the other buds that live in Seattle." Seemed like a better fit. So they ended up moving up here, and their lease was up in August. But they were kind of having a bad time with their landlord, just some like not great neighbors and some other stuff was going on. And so they stayed with us when they would visit us when they lived in Portland. We have a spare room, plenty of room. And so when they were kind of going through a rough time, we were just like, you need a place to stay. Like, just like if you need to get out of there, we'll like no big deal. And then we all kind of joked about having a streamer house for a while. And then things kind of escalated right at the same time that we were putting our charity incentives together. And we were like, what if we do a streamer house? And we're like, yeah, I mean, your lease will be up. You'll have to find somewhere else. Like they're not staying there. They know that they're moving. So we're like, we'll just have a little stop here before you go wherever you're gonna uh live next because that place ain't it. So yeah. So they moved in Monday and I've already gotten so much done because I'm used to an office environment and I'm used to just like, hey, what about this idea? What do you think about this? Come look at what I'm working on. And content creation, YouTube, aside from Mr. Travel, who's kind of obligated to say my stuff is good.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. All is so
the worst.
Really nice. So it's just nice to have somebody like bounce ideas off of and to be like, oh, you could do this or whatnot. So yeah, I'm 3 days in, I'm like, yeah. So
fast forward a weekend and you're like all disheveled, like we got to get him out. Like, please.
So I know how you feel.
How long is it?
Goodness. So I know how you feel about it. Which is ecstatic, right? Because office space, I can imagine that too. Because just having people to bounce off is tight.
It's so good.
Now I'm interested because you're very like outgoing with people.
Yeah.
So I know you would love having people at your house. The question is, how does Travel feel? Because he is almost like the opposite of you in that regard, and he's pretty reserved, whereas you're very out there and just happy to have people around you.
Yeah, he's like in his own office enclosed. So that really hasn't like life for him is pretty similar. Like it's like aside from when he's not working, there's a lot more people, but he still has so much like alone time. He's editing, he's in his office, or when he streams, he can close the door if we're being loud or whatnot. But I think we're all kind of laughing quite a bit and joking around. So I know he's having a really good time with it. But yeah. We're all pretty like conscientious people, which is why I think that we like assumed that we could make 3 months work. That's what we agreed to for the charity incentive. And so it's just like, we're all very self-aware and conscientious, which I feel like make for most situations that are going to come up. We can all, handle and be chill about. So
Well, and I
there's not
think
really.
the fact that you have carved out a rough timeline instead
Mhm.
of just like they're here, we don't know when they're gonna move out. It might
Yeah.
become a strain, might become awkward, but it's like we know when you're gonna be here. Let's work through it.
Yeah.
I think that can
And it's
definitely make it
really, it
easier.
really is kind of like it's going to be a content house, and we're going to work on projects together. So it's almost just like a little fun, 3-month long project that we're working on. And yeah, I've already been. Amy makes like really good food, and so she's been like cooking, and I've like lost 4 pounds already because she just like makes delicious and healthy food, and also she's like a workout goddess, and I'm like, oh,
Ask her if she
yay.
wants another pit stop. I love
Fruit
food.
wants you to move in with him after you're done with us.
Just saying,
That's
if because
if
no one in this
needed.
household likes to cook.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've always thought
So.
about this, and I guess this is a question for both of you. How, like, the idea of a gamer house, because I've
Mhm.
always been like, oh, that sounds so tight. But like in practice, I'd be like, this is awful. Why there's so many people here? Oh my god, this is too much.
please.
I think if the house was smaller, or we all didn't have our own, like, this is like basically our only shared space where we're going to be a lot, but like obviously we have our room, they have their room, they're kind of across the way from each other. Um there's a good amount of space and spaces for people to like go away to if they need to be alone. So I think if it was a smaller space, or like they're not just sleeping on our couch and I'm like, cool, my living room is now not a living room, like that might be a little bit more, but there's just like we've got the space, and it never feels like we're crunched. So.
I thought about it. And I think if circumstances were different, i.e., I wasn't in a relationship and wasn't really tied down in a sense, but more so like I'm not going to move into a gamer house with Claire, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
something that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But like rewind a little bit, and maybe at the time when I was growing, if I had the opportunity and I was in a relationship, I think I would have liked to try it.
Yeah.
Mainly for the idea, like how Danielle was talking about, having some semblance of like coworkers and an
Mhm.
environment, and then being able to get ideas thrown together and actually execute on stuff easier.
Mhm.
However, it would definitely bare minimum, like everyone would need their own room.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason though I think I could pull it off was because during college, freshman year, you had to stay on the dorm, and I was like, this
I
is going
hate
to be
it.
miserable. Like,
Uh-huh.
I need my alone time. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And I roomed with one of my best friends at the time. Well, he's still my best friend. I don't know why I said that. Hopefully he's not listening. Like at the time.
Former.
Yeah, sorry. What? No.
It's like, Christian,
He said,
what did I
bro,
do?
like I could have sworn we like that. No, so we roomed together, and actually like it almost never bothered me. Plus we were both really good about, like, we're both pretty introverted, so like we knew when to respect each other's space and stuff, but like at no point was I like overwhelmed, and that's when I was like, I could make something like that work.
Yeah.
However, I think where the problem would come from is after I'm done working and I want to wind down, maybe I don't always want to interact with somebody because like Claire and I have had to talk about this in our relationship as well. For me, I'm introverted in the sense that like even spending time with her sometimes is still,
Mhm.
even if we're not even doing something necessarily like active together, that can still be, I'm not recharging my batteries, so to speak.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just need to be alone. And what we had to make the distinction between was like, right now I'm alone working,
Mhm.
but I'm not recharging. Like, I'm
Yeah.
working. It's
Yeah.
not a time of like, oh, I'm just taking time for myself and
Mhm.
recharging. And so that's where the problem would come from, is like I work most of the day, I get off, and then I still might need some alone time, even though I had alone time, but I was working the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So I would think at a gamer house, I would need the same thing. Like, that's why at the bare minimum, separate rooms. So it's just
mhm.
like, you guys are chill, love you, but like, I'm a peace out for a while.
Yeah.
And it's not
Well,
because I
and
hate you, but
it's I love you, but no, and I
but
think
listen.
everyone's pretty on board with that too. Like just like acknowledging like, oh, if needed, like I can just go and lay on my bed and read. And Stefan's like that too. Like after streams, if I'm not streaming, like I leave him alone. Like usually, like sometimes I would go in and be like, "Hi, you're done streaming" or whatnot. If I wasn't already streaming, because usually we have like the split schedule where he streams in the day and I stream at night. Um, but he just needs like he just calls it like it's like his phase in between like working and existing again. It's just like I
Yeah.
just need to zone out and just like not think about anything or just like surf the internet and just like bleh, and then,
Unwind.
whatnot. Yeah. So and like I make him lunch and like sometimes we'll eat together on his stream. We'll eat lunch together. And then he'll make me dinner and we'll eat together on my stream because that's the only time that we can hang out
Yeah.
if we're both streaming. And I know that like if he's streaming late, that like dinner's gonna be really late because he needs that like that phase. And so I'm just like, all right, I'll just grab something for myself real quick just because, I need snacks or something.
Yeah.
But it's important. Like it can make you like in a bad mood, snappish with the people that you're like, I don't know why I'm so annoyed with you right now. And I feel bad, but like, shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah.
I love you, but go the fuck away. So,
Mhm.
but I think that's why I was saying, like, we're all conscientious. We're all um, super communicative to be able to say, hey, I need some space right now. Like, it's literally not about any one of us. It's just like, oh, I need to go and I'm stressed out about something. I'm going to go seclude
What I
and be fine. So,
what I think a lot of people don't realize is like when having roommates, I'm speaking mainly from like a relationship side, but same thing happens with roommates. I mean, you interact every day. That's your home. That's your, like quote unquote safe space. And if you're not comfortable there, that can bleed into everything in your life. So communication skills aren't only important, with your significant
mhm,
other, but also people you're rooming with, or housing with, not necessarily in the same room.
mhm,
But like you've kind of talked about, it sounds like you guys have kind of made it obvious, or if it needs to be said, it's a safe space to be able to say this or that. And that's, I think, really important and what some people don't do. And that's why some people are like, this is miserable, or like, I
mhm.
hate my roommates. And I mean, yeah, you might just have bad roommates. You can't do much about it. Um, but yeah, as far as the whole gaming house thing goes, I think that would have to be like, just here we go. And I think for a lot of people too, I think most content creators, ironically too, are just introverts.
Yeah.
I think most of them would be on the same page. Like, yeah, like, we're gonna do this. Haha. Okay. Like, I'm just gonna go chill.
Mhm.
So I think it'd be pretty understanding. I don't know how long I'd be able to do something like that. Like, that wouldn't be a permanent thing.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's kind of where it helps too. It's like it's just for this project and we'll throw a lot of our effort into making cool stuff and then this phase will be done and we'll just be buds again. So,
because
yeah.
you're not
But
buds
yeah,
right now.
well now we're roommate buds. So,
Oh,
you're dropping the roommate
it's a
parts.
higher
But
tier.
yeah. So I think going back to what you were saying, like relationships and also just like general human things, people don't know how to advocate for themselves. They don't know how to ask for what they want and they don't know how to set boundaries. And I think that is one of the most important things that I've ever learned. It's definitely not something that I knew or practiced in like my very first relationships. It was just like I felt bad for telling someone else that they hurt my feelings. And it's like that doesn't help anyone because that shit will build up and then all of a sudden you're exploding at them for doing one tiny thing and you're like, "But you did all this too." And they're like, I didn't know about any of
Yeah,
that
but like
stuff.
all these receipts, and then wait, what? Like, I don't even
Yeah,
remember
they're like,
that.
"What? I thought we were chill." So, yeah, so just like it's better to do the work of just being like, "Hey, just need to bring this up. This is my boundary here. I just need you, like we got to figure this out and then move on." And so it's just like you can learn that early on in life. Holy shit, you're going to have it good. So, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not learn that in my family. Our
Yeah.
family was definitely the just keep it in. Nobody really
Just
say
bottle it
anything.
up.
Yeah. So that it took me a while to learn too, but it's definitely something that I think needs to be learned, but it I
It's
think it
tough.
pays dividends. And I think the like for me the reason I was bad at it is I was like, well, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, or like I don't want to come off this way or make them think X or Y. And then in
Mhm.
reality, you do it like once, and they're like, okay, yeah, cool, I can do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't know you
oh,
felt that way. Sure, sure, sure.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's that easy. Oh, okay, like
Yeah.
maybe I can do that.
Oh, nice. So yeah,
But
communication.
you'll need to learn it, whether it be your
Yeah.
job, friendship,
Very true.
families.
Yeah.
But I was meaning to ask, since you mentioned it, you said you love to travel.
Mhm.
Obviously, I gotta ask, favorite place you traveled?
Most of my
And why
my
is it my house?
it was Fruit
Say
Summit
Colorado.
2019, and
Oh, really?
that was fun. And I was thinking about Fruit Summit too. Like you were like, I don't know if I could do it with Claire, but like, how much fun did we have at Fruit Summit? Imagine if everyone had like their own wing of the house, and then you come together and make like fun content every so often. That'd be
See,
ch-
okay,
that'd be
but that's
fun.
like, but if we had like a gamer mansion, I'm pretty sure everyone would be like, all right, chill, yeah, we're down, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we just had wings, like, all right,
Yeah,
he's got the
then
east wing, and they got
yeah.
Yeah.
Then I don't think anyone would be against it.
I
True.
mean,
But
honestly, we could probably pull it off if we all pulled money and then went like Bodunk middle of like Georgia. We could
Yeah,
get
true.
like
mhm.
we could probably get a decent estate, but then it would be like we're all alone and who wants to live here?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that would
for
kind of
sure.
be a problem. But
So yeah, favorite place to travel. So I actually haven't been that many places. Like I feel like really under scrutiny with a name like TravelDanielle. I'm like, I've been to like a couple
fraud.
country. Yeah, yeah. I'm like, ugh.
Might as well have named
Like,
yourself Dr. Danielle.
Yeah,
And you're not even
yeah.
a doctor. Oh
You
my.
don't even know. But like when I made the TravelDanielle email address, it wasn't a I always say this. In TravelDanielle is not an adjective. It's not like the Danielle that travels. It was a command. It was like an exhortation, like travel, Danielle. Do whatever it takes to travel. And so
Like
it
a
was like,
reminder.
yeah. So that's where the name comes from. I really liked. We have really some great friends in Germany, and so I've been to Germany, Cologne, a couple of times, and just travel is more wrapped up in the memories of like the people that I hang out with, and that's why traveling is so important to me, is like it gets you outside of your own comfort zone and exposes you to points of view and people and cultures that you just like wouldn't normally, and has led to me being so much more open-minded, much more empathetic, much more like I don't know, just like conscientious, I guess, of other people. And so that's why I encourage other people to travel as much as possible. Long story short, probably Venice, Italy. That was a long answer. I loved Venice, but
That is one of the few places I visited out of the country, and
yeah,
very nice.
it's like a fairy tale. You're just like, this exists. You know, you see movies and you're like, surely that's got to be some kind of like set or something, or like, yeah, they get a shot of the city, but like the actual cool stuff is like recreated in a production set or something. But no, it's really that magical.
I will say the one bummer is I wish I could have seen it when, waters were clean and clear.
True. Yeah.
2, wish GPS worked, because we got woefully lost so many times.
Mhm.
It's insane. You're like, it can't be that bad. And you like pull up the GPS and it shows you the map of Venice.
Yeah.
It's like a corn maze. Like,
Yeah.
you're not
And
finding
they're
your
like
way to
street
this.
signs are like, sometimes they're like on a building, and then sometimes they're like on a thing, and there's no like standardization of like, oh, if I know at least the street name, I'll be able to get there. Like, you're
No.
lucky if you can see the street name. It's
Yeah.
just like,
And
gotta be
then it
here
was
somewhere. This
also,
isn't alley.
I don't know
Yeah.
when you went, but it was way colder than I thought because of, I didn't even think about it, but because of all the right off the ocean, and then with all the canals and stuff, it was super windy, super
Yeah.
cold.
I always
Yeah.
envisioned it as like hot too, but
It was
thinking
chilly.
about it, well, I imagine obviously during the summers it gets humid and ugly, and then during the winters, oh my goodness, you would be
Yeah.
freezing.
Yeah, with all that air coming off the ocean. We went, so that's probably why it's one of my favorite places, is because the trip that I went to Venice, I had already also been to Ireland over St. Patrick's
Ooh.
Day, and then Cologne, Germany, and then we flew with our German friends to Venice. And so Ireland, gross and rainy, Germany, gross and rainy. And it's like mid to late March, and we get to Venice, and it was like it was uncharacteristically nice. So it was like 70s and sunny with like a light breeze. And so it's just like the water's glistening and the breeze and like
The
everything's
birds are
starting to be
chirping.
green. Yeah, it was like super, super magical. So it's like, oh, but yeah.
We went, that reminds me, we went to, Claire and I went to Scotland.
Oh,
and it was cold and rainy.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all the time. And they're like, yeah, this is just usually how it is. Didn't even think about it. And then we would go through and tour. I don't know if you've ever seen the show. It's based in Scotland. It's like on this. Oh, jeez, she loves it. Outrider? No.
Oh, I think it's not Outrider. It's Outlander.
Yes,
Something?
I think the Outlander. Yeah, where like she goes back in time at Scotland. Something blah blah.
Yep.
Have you seen it yourself or anything? Read it?
I haven't seen it or read it, but I've seen marketing for it and be like, that would probably be right up my alley. Sometimes I have to avoid things because I know I would be obsessed with them, and I'm like, I don't have the time to be obsessed with you right now.
Not right now.
Yeah, but I looks amazing.
So she loved it, and when we were going there, it's like all filmed there, and the history's there. So we did like an actual tour that goes through it all. But we were looking at like castles and stuff, and like where people used to set up settlements and forts and all this stuff. And I'm just walking out here with my umbrella all sad and like the cold and the rain. I was like, they did this every day. How did they even have the motivation to like build this? How did they even make this fort? I was like, this must have been brutal. And that's what like old England and Scotland and Ireland was like most of the times, is just cold and wet. Didn't even think about it.
A lot of mud. Yep. Yeah, I haven't been to Scotland, but I've been to Ireland twice, and I went to Northern Ireland and we got like a tour of where they filmed the Game of Thrones, and like we went down the high road and stuff, and the tour bus was like playing the dun 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 dun, just the trees, and I was like,
and I bet everyone, all the like natives are just like, oh Jesus, like more of these guys, huh?
Well, they're more
trying
idiots.
to sleep.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, I actually don't like. I don't mind cold and rainy. I mean, I live in Seattle, so obviously I can't mind too much, but I would rather cold and rainy and like chilly and like a nice mist in the air than like hot desert dry, just ugh. So I say it was cold and rainy in Ireland and Germany, but like it wasn't too bad, but it was just a nice break change of pace to go to Venice, and it was like, oh, so yeah.
Like the problem I have with Colorado is like we barely get storms, like thunderstorms and stuff. And if we do, it's like in and out, it's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like in that in between. I do like rain and stuff, and I would like if it did it more. But I also can't give up Colorado. I mean, I think we get the most sunshine out of the year out of every state. So it's like, it's nice to have that balance. I just wish we got more of the rain, and maybe a little less of the snow would be nice. I don't really like the snow.
Yeah.
That's just cold and miserable, for me, because I don't do anything involved with the snow.
Yeah. I mean, if it's snowing and the sun is shining, at least you have that. Then you're like, okay, it's at least, we've got the sunlight and it's pretty or whatnot.
Hope.
But yeah, there's something there. Yeah. I lived in Boulder for a year, so I know like right at the foothills, the base of the foothills. And it was just like driving from downtown Denver to Boulder, and you come over that ridge and there's just like boulders spread out below you, and then the foothills. It's probably one of my favorite views. It's just
I mean, there's breathtaking views everywhere. Yeah. And the one thing I do like about snow, especially on a fresh snowfall, if it's a little heavier, you go outside, it's like nighttime, but with the snowstorm, it can be crazy at night. Like it almost looks like it's day. It's so bright. You go out, it's snowing, and it's fresh and so heavily packed though that it's just silent.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can't hear anything.
It's like everything has a muffler on it, and you're like,
yeah. It's almost. It's not. It sounds eerie, but it's like oddly calming. I will say that's a perk.
Yeah.
But then you're like, I'm cold as balls, and then you go back inside. Yeah, like, all right, that was nice, and I'm out.
My toes are wet. I hate everything. Gorgeous. See you later. Yeah.
Blue, what are the seasons you deal with? I don't know how much Texas deals with seasons.
Well, I really wish I got that experience of snow, because my weather experience is either disgustingly hot and depressing, mildly cold, or every now and then one day it rains buckets, and then the next day it doesn't rain. Like it's literally just hell. And then maybe next week it'll rain for like a week straight, and then we haven't had rain in about 3 months.
Ugh.
I'm sold. I'm
worst.
coming.
Well, see you there.
Texas is probably one of the most volatile weather states I've lived in. The thing is, I say volatile, but we don't really have like severe weather for the most part. It's just very
Do you guys get tornadoes or
hot.
anything anywhere in
Down here in
Texas? I don't know.
yeah, like in more like well, I live in south central of Texas, right? So like I'm pretty near the south end of San Antonio. You can definitely get tornadoes like up north. I think in all of my years of living in San Antonio, we've only had one tornado actually touch down. But it was like uh, it was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, tornado touchdown, but didn't really do anything.
Hmm.
So
Well, that's not
People
too bad.
weren't running for their
that's
lives.
the one thing I like about Texas is that I don't have to worry about like crazy natural disasters.
Spontaneously, just
Yeah, we're far enough away. I'm far enough away from the coast that I don't have to worry about a tsunami. I'm just inland enough to where I'm not going to get annihilated by a hurricane. There's no earthquakes here. That's pretty tight. Rarely
True.
there's tornadoes. It's
yeah. What was that?
pretty cozy.
It's only a couple years ago. That one that like destroyed Houston. What hurricane was that?
God, I forgot. It was Galveston and parts of Houston. Yeah, I forgot that huge storm with
Yeah.
that
But so that
flooded
one,
Houston too.
how did that impact you at all? Did you guys really just like some extra rainfall, or was it?
For the most part, when it comes to hurricanes, we'll either just get like crazy rain for a while, but generally speaking, like by the time it gets to us, it's really nothing. It's nothing that's actually dangerous. Like it's not like we
Like a
have to.
novelty. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
it
it's
rained.
like
It rained a bunch. How
it's
cute.
like it's like yeah, you probably shouldn't be driving in this, but it's not like oh wow, like you need to be
We
inside
gonna
now
die.
or you're like gonna die. The worst thing that happens to us is hail. That's about it.
Oh yeah, yeah, and humidity because that's pretty bad for me.
Humidity's pretty bad. It's awful.
I do
I hate
enjoy
it.
that about Colorado.
Yeah.
I get out of the shower. I don't even need a towel. Give me like a minute and I'm good to go. Unfortunately, that means you need to be stocked up on chapstick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, I definitely enjoy that part.
Moisturizer. Yeah, you gotta go hard on that stuff, but you don't try to sweat your dick off, and you're just like, oh, cool, I'm already wet. I feel like I'm in a swimming pool that is just hanging out in the air.
Like
Ugh.
when I'm working out, I don't just sweat. Like
Mhm.
you gotta be super high heart, like hitting it hard. You know, if I'm in Florida, I walk outside and you would have thought I just ran a couple miles.
Yeah.
It's like the difference.
I'm from Kansas City, so I spent a good chunk of my life in
Tornado
Kansas
Alley.
City. Tornado Alley,
Oh man.
humid as fuck in the summer, and then just like cold and miserable in the winter.
See, I love humidity though, because I have pretty sensitive skin, and my skin is just like humidity, delicious. But here in
Yeah,
Texas, it's
moisture.
pretty much always dry as fuck. So I'm just like in an existential state of like, if you touch me, I might break apart.
Yeah. Uh, oh, that sucks.
So is there? So I'm assuming you've at least been through some tornadoes. Maybe that not went right through you, but
Oh yeah. Yeah, when I worked at I used to work for Hallmark Cards at like their headquarters. Their like global headquarters is in Kansas City. And we had there was like a big tornado that touched down in downtown Kansas City, and they're like sirens everywhere, and I worked in the video studio, and so we were already kind of like tucked in the basement, and so it was just like we just had a bunch of like other colleagues coming down and like hunkering down in a back hallway. It's like
the crazy
waiting
thing
for
is,
it, so
I grew up in like Florida for a little while, and then I moved to Colorado. And I remember it was like 5th grade or whatever when I moved to it, and the year had gone by, and I was like, "We haven't done any tornado drills."
yeah.
And they're like, "What?" I said, "You guys don't do tornado drills, like just in case?" Because I remember in Florida, it's like tornado drills. Everybody, you're hunkered down in the thing. They're like, "Be prepared." I was just like, "Yeah, it's not even a thing out here."
Well, interesting.
Yeah.
I do miss thunderstorms, like thick. Like you're like a thunderstorm's coming because the sky is a mix of orange and green, and the air is like smells like energy, and you're just like, and then all
I
of a
miss
sudden it
those.
just breaks, and it's just, yeah, I do. So
What were you gonna say, Blue?
When I moved to Florida, I had the same experience where one of my friends, because we had 'cause in Florida was probably the worst weather I was in Florida during a hurricane, and I was like, damn, this shit goes really hard, bro. And then
This ain't no joke.
scary as fuck.
and we ended up having like a whole like group study party basically to just stay at one of my friend's house, and every single time like there was lightning, or was it lightning or thunder? Dude, I don't even remember. So it'd be like, oh, that was 5 miles away. And I was like, how do you know that? And they were like,
Yeah.
dude, everyone in Florida knows like the amount of
Count the
time that passes.
seconds or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, you count the seconds. That's how far away stuff is. And they're like, you don't do that? And I was like, no, I live in Texas. I
Yeah.
worry about that.
I grew up learning that. No one here knew that. And I'm pretty sure I learned that it's like a mother's tale or widow's tale, whatever those are called.
Old wives' tale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where like evidently that's not actually how it works.
Yeah, probably not, but
I know. I was like, now you're gonna tell me I don't eat 2 spiders every night when I sleep? Like,
That's not possible. Yeah, it might I feel like I did hear that too, where it's not it doesn't actually technically convert to each 1/1000 is a mile away, but I think it does. It still determines
on the lower ones. It's a little more accurate, but once you get out, to like the
but
later
it's still
seconds,
a
it's definitely
determination of
weighing.
how close it is or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's just not
no
1 = 1.
Yeah. Yes, that is exactly 2.3. Yeah.
Oh wait, due southeast 1 mile.
I think I've been through 4 hurricanes. One of them was pretty bad. We had no power for I think 10 days. Just stuck at home. They're pretty crazy. Because I remember I was young enough where it's like you'd have the little radio on, you listen, you get an alert, like a tornado alarm and everything. We would get into our little pantry. My dad would get the mattress, hold the mattress above our heads, and then we would just huddle in there until they said like coast was clear. You'd go out, and I remember the rain was sideways. I was like, this isn't possible. But literally like darts, just completely sideways. It was bonkers. You could go out. I remember being able to see a tornado or two like out in the distance. It gets nuts.
Yeah.
I remember
those funnel clouds
yeah. You could literally see them start to spin up and
start to elongate, and you're like, ah!
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. But I was young enough that like I don't think I understood and like realized the full severity of it all. My biggest problem was about a day and a half in, my Game Boy ran out of batteries. And the power was out. So I was like,
now this is a tragedy.
yes, I can't charge my now what? So it was a lot of dominoes, I'll tell you that.
Board games, yeah.
Yeah, board games. But the problem was it was already so hard to see. Because there's no light, and then having the storm going at all times, it's like always dark clouds, so you could barely see.
Nightmare.
It was nuts,
nightmare.
But at the same time, I don't know. It was something else to experience. I definitely wouldn't. I think that storm, my dad for whatever reason decided to stay, but I think that was one of the ones where it's like recommended you dip.
Yeah, evacuate.
I don't remember why we didn't. I would have rather we had, but that was like the board your homes.
I regret everything.
Yeah. But it's crazy. And then you come here and it's just
Smooth
just
sailing.
cold as balls. Now the first year we moved here, maybe within the first year and a half, has actually been the worst storm since I've been here, which is now over about 15 years. I think it was 5.5 feet of snow. Like you were blocked in your home. You couldn't even get out. Yeah. And that was like the first winter. I was like, oh my, like what have we moved into here for?
I regret.
Yeah, we couldn't get out of our neighborhood for like a week or two. I was just like, geez. Nothing like that has ever happened since, ironically enough. But it humbles you, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Suddenly none of the little
pretty small in the world.
None of those little problems you're worried about matter at all during that time. crazy.
Survival.
You know what else is crazy?
What's that?
This ad read.
Oh, and welcome back
Welcome.
to the greatest
Welcome.
podcast this side of whatever hurricane's next. Although that's not important. I was going to get into semantics. Today, as of the time we're recording this, Xbox had their next gen showcase, whatever they wanted to call it. Essentially, their what would have been their E3 event, which might even be worse because that would have been a pretty lame event if that was going to be their E3 event. Well, I have a lot of thoughts about it.
Same. I have a lot of thoughts too.
We'll start with Danielle. Did you see it? Did you not? A little bit?
I kind of caught the highlights, but it feels I'm excited for other people. I people were very excited about it, and I'm excited for them because
Okay.
yeah, I back to my lore really quick. I didn't really play video games as a kid, so I got into video games for Destiny. So I played on Xbox to start for the Destiny beta and Destiny 1, and then I moved to PS4, and then I moved to PC. So a lot of I never played Halo. I don't know what Fable is.
You heretic.
I know. So like a lot of things I'm like, oh, this is new and exciting. So, but I'm excited for you guys. You seem very stoked about the news. So yeah. So Halo Infinite, I'm like, this is a new game and not one of the Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah,
okay, you
cool,
continue.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm tracking now. Right.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Halo, of course.
Yes. So yeah. I'm stoked for others, and I'm interested in what they're announcing, but it's none of it is nostalgia or excitement for, memories or whatnot. It's all new, exciting things for me. So
Well, we
yeah.
have perhaps one of the biggest Halo fans out there, and Mr. Fruit, and
Yes.
I'm actually really interested in hearing your opinion on this Halo Infinite reveal.
All right, look.
I saw your tweet about it.
It's
earlier,
not looking
so
good because
I have a preview.
I'll say my tweet was tame. I didn't
Oh.
want to just be that. Well, I didn't just want to
coming off.
I didn't just want to
Here
hype
we
it up
go.
though, just to hype it up.
Here's the context of the tweet.
Yeah, I didn't want to hype it up just to hype it up. I didn't want to fake hype. Like most of the time, people are like, if I'm honestly oh, this looks sick. It's not like me feigning hype just to get my audience excited or for this. It's just like, yeah, this actually looks pretty cool for me. And I was like, all right. Odds are this is going to be sick. Halo's going to impress me. Literally, the reason I'm here is because of Halo. First shooter. Love it. All the ones that came after Halo 3, I never loved as much, but I still put a lot of time into Reach. 4 somewhat. 5, not really, because at that point I was doing content creation. And so I was like, all right, Halo Infinite with some backstory for those listening. The biggest gap we've had between any main core Halo game, at this point, clocking in at a little over 5 years, I believe, when it'll be released. It's going to be on a new gen. So that's it. And then also, they completely remade the engine. They made a completely new engine for this game because I believe the one they were working on with Halo 5 was still a modified engine from Halo Combat Evolved, the first one. Which it got grandfathered in from Bungie and stuff. So that we got to make a whole new engine. So I'm like, okay, new engine. They spent a little over $500 million on this game. Over 5 years. 5 years in active development. Who knows how much longer after that, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay. They know they got to step it up. Halo, honestly, as much as people hate to say it, it's been on the decline. Used to, that would move Xboxes. That's what made Xbox what it was, made it so popular. And now it's kind of oh, yeah, right. A new Halo is, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to think, the crazy thing is back in my day, I'm playing Halo, and that in Call of Duty, it was almost
back in my day.
Back in my day, it was
Halo.
Call of Duty, yeah, whatever, dude. Go play your kids' game. We're going to play Halo. And now everyone's playing COD. You playing Halo, dude?
It's flip-flopped, yeah.
Yeah, completely. Rob and I used to watch the competitive scene, and nowadays it'd be a joke. And we were like, Call of Duty esports? Lol. And then, well, here we are.
Yeah.
Halo esports is a literal joke. So it's just like, all right, they got to reinvent themselves a little bit. Like, they need to reiterate on the core gameplay that is Halo. Find a medium ground for the old people, but also attract new people. And you got to get some quality of life changes, all that kind of stuff. Modernize the games. And so I'm like, all right, wow me. Like, let's go. And they start the conference with it. I'm like, okay. I was expecting it to be the end.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be the end. And I was like, oh, they're doing this. Okay, let's go. Little cinematic, whatever. I was like, that's sick. All right, let's get into it. Starts with Chief and some random dude that I'm sure we'll learn about later in the actual story, in some little Pelican or whatever they're in, flying around. And initially I'm like, okay, looks pretty good. All right, let's see where this is going. They're flying around, and outside I was like, it looks a little strange, but then they crash land, and then Chief gets out, and then it goes into the gameplay, and immediately I'm like, what was like this? Okay, let's give it a little time. It immediately looked a little dull and flat to me, but I was like, let's see. We haven't seen the gameplay. Gameplay starts, shooting some grunts. I noticed Bloom. All right, we'll stay with this. Maybe it's just in the campaign. And then he gets into a Warhog, and I'm like, this is... And then they're driving, and this looks very uninspired. Graphically, I got to tell you, it looked like it was running off the Xbox 360. I was like, this is like flagship game for your new console, new engine, all this money you spent, and you've purposely avoided showcasing anything about this game. Like, this is the reveal of Halo Infinite. And I just can't... Like, this is what they chose to be the reveal. It just felt so underwhelming. Like, normally you overshoot, you overdeliver, you show them stuff that's not actually going to be like in the game, right? Like you kind of enhance it. You want to get people excited. And I was like,
you start the hype train.
And it felt like it was the opposite way for me. But so graphically, I was already like a little miffed. I was like, but there's more to it, and maybe they got a couple months, maybe, who knows. Then they get into the gameplay. I will say, a bunch of new weapons shown. I was like, that's cool. We haven't had that in Halo for a while. Like, usually every game adds like a new weapon or like 2 new weapons, and almost every gun they showed was new. I was like, okay, cool. We'll see how those affect like multiplayer. They had sprint in, which everyone was against. I'm not. But it looked like he was running in slow motion. Then he had a grapple hook. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder how this is going to affect gameplay. I've never seen a less visceral thing in gameplay than that grappling hook.
Yeah.
I wasn't even playing. It didn't even look fun. Like the best is like, I can watch someone like grapple with Pathfinder. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, okay. I see the, yeah, you're grappling, move, like, okay. And this, it's like, and then you like bump into an alien. He's like, oh, bro, like, why'd you do that? Or it's like, whoop, let me throw this fusion coil. Boop. It does a little bit. I'm like, surely there's got to be more to this. You
wanted more. Yeah.
It didn't even, it felt like a gimmick. It like, if this is what they want to be like, look, now there's a grappling hook. It looked half-baked. It didn't even look like it. Like, what is this going to add to the game? On top of that, I think their selling point was like, open world. You're a little late to the game, Halo. Open world's been going on a long time. Plus, I'm currently playing Ghost of Tsushima. So I'm like, that's an open world game. We'll see how you, like, I'm not entirely sold on yours. So that seemed to be like a big thing. Like, campaign's going to be open world. And I'm like, it's not a selling point for me. You got to like, because a lot of games, a lot of games try and sell open world, and it can actually hurt the game. Because in this case, like, okay, we can explore everything, but does that mean it's going to be sparse, or does that mean you've had to make like sacrifices in certain places, and maybe the game doesn't, whole thing? Because Halo's always been a beat by beat game, like a pretty linear story. Yeah. So I was like, well, we'll have to see how that is, but okay, fair enough. But again, that's not like the reveal. Halo Infinite, open world. You got to be like, then hit me with some more stuff. Okay, there's a grappling hook. Meh. There's some new guns. Meh. The graphics. Meh. Like, I just can't get over that.
Yeah, give me something, please.
Yeah, like some people are like, but graphics aren't everything.
Bro, this is the new
Halo.
gen.
Yeah, this is the...
they're on new gen. They can afford to have it all. Like
Yeah.
they should have it all. It's not
Especially
like, well, you gotta, gameplay or graphics aren't everything, but like we should have this sweet gameplay loop or, great story. It's like, Porque no las dos? Like you're a giant company with a
Yeah.
giant
Over
flagship
half
IP.
the
$1 billion.
flagship IP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like
maybe let's have it
Xbox,
all. I
Halo.
want it all.
They're like synonymous. You think
Yeah.
Xbox and Halo are like,
Yeah.
there's like Xbox and Gears, but like Xbox and Halo, that's
Yeah.
the thing. And there's this big reveal, and it looks bland, and the character designs look so out of place. It's like this weird plastic cartoony look, and I think they were trying to like harken back to Halo Combat Evolved, but then they didn't take any creative decisions into figuring out how it's going to come together. They're just like, people love that, let's just try and do that, and like show them we're going back to our roots, which I've said Halo cannot do. I know people want old Halo, but there's a reason Halo was popular then and it isn't now.
Mm-hmm.
Games were different. Games were slower. People were used to different things. It has to evolve. And if it's going to be a slow shooter like that again, your old core audience would be like, yeah, this is it. Then they might get a little worn out. But new people, no.
Oh.
They're going to be like, what is this? This is so slow. I'm a super soldier. I feel like I'm walking in mud, which is what it looked like gameplay-wise. And then the gameplay itself didn't really wow me at all. They must have had it on like super easy mode. Just a couple grunts, like not even that looked interesting or revolutionary. The combat looked same old, same old. And then they go into some lore bit about the Banished. You don't even know what's going on. Again, the Banished dude looks like he has PS2 textures. And I'm like, this is really the reveal I've been waiting for years, and everyone else. And I couldn't do anything for like an hour and a half. I was just bummed. I was just sad.
Zoning.
It's like I was like, there's no way they're not gonna come in. This is their new it's gonna be a home run.
Mm-hmm.
And that felt like a hit and a miss. And if that's what they thought was good enough to show as a reveal, that's worrying for me. That somebody's like, this is what we need to show. Like, yes. I mean, I can go on into the details, and then I go online, and there's just a whole bunch of people like, yes!
Yeah.
Like, Halo! This looks so good! And I was like, what part? It looks like any Halo we've had before. It's uninspired. They've made no change. People are like, the grappling hook. I was like, that looked what?
Mm-hmm.
That grappling hook looks so boring. Oh my god. It's just ugh.
Yeah.
I think there's like standards that you have to reach when you're doing this, and
this isn't a small
like,
indie company. Like
it's like yeah, especially like, and you have it's just so jarring to me because you have like Respawn. Like let's just get this out there. Respawn is a company that does not have nearly as the budget, not even remotely.
We stand Respawn.
We stand Respawn. Not even remotely the budget that, for sure, Microsoft is giving 343. And what they do with it is like crazy. Like, and it's like if a company like Respawn, which Apex wasn't even supposed to be as big of a success as it was, if they can make a grappling hook like that look that good, I'm expecting 343 to be like at that or better. And when I saw the grappling hook, people were like, "Oh, that's so tight," and I was just like,
"Have you ever?" It looks like you're shooting silly string.
There's no
oomph. There's nothing.
Yeah. Do you feel like it is like, I don't know, from what I'm hearing, it feels like they are trying to cater too hard to people who are nostalgic about the old ones. Like,
I mean, that's what I was worried about.
Not innovating enough at the risk of alienating those core players, but also trying to bring some tiny new things, and it's just like not enough.
I feel like that's the recurring issue with Halo, and it's the reason I don't get into it is because
they've always been in this weird middle.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like they don't want to push too far into making the game different, but they also don't want to push too far into alienating the old player base. So you eventually have just this really weird gray area that nobody is happy with.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
There was a
And
tweet by Nate Shot that I actually really agreed with. You
it
go
was
first.
about the BR.
Yeah, well, so from my perspective, right, I'm just not interested in Halo. It's lost me. If it goes back to like Halo 2 and 3, that would lose me. And maybe maybe I'm not the core audience, and that's totally fine, right? But for a AAA game to continue a franchise, you need to have a wave of new people playing, because the gaming audience from 10 years ago that is most interested in Halo is not the majority, and it's not even close.
No.
There's way more people playing video games from this generation and the upcoming generation than there ever were from the previous generations. And that's important, because if you want 343 to keep making Halo, the game's got to succeed.
Yeah.
So Nadeshot actually, I know people are going to be like, Blue, you're an idiot. This is a weird hot take. But I
I think
100%
I
agree
agree with
with
you.
it.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with it, because I'm from the perspective of a consumer that should be interested in this game, because I love shooters. And Nadeshot said the first glimpse of Halo Infinite should have packed a much bigger punch, should have teased a BR to appeal to a newer audience, which I agree with, should have previewed multiplayer with a robust ranking system for all the old Halo vets, and it should have teased support of esports. Again, something that
None of
old
that.
players would have
Literally
loved.
nothing.
Yeah.
I think his point, because a lot of people were like, ew, BR, like they saw BR and they're like, ew, you're stupid, like gross. But
It's not for
his
you
point-
boomers. You Halo
point-
boomers.
his point is exactly what Danielle said. This is a company with literally, like, they have their hand in Microsoft Pocket. Why can you not have both?
You should have it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, look at like Black Ops, for instance. Black Ops 4. They pivoted months, just a couple months before release. They're like, Jesus, Battle Royale's exploding. Throw in what was it, Blackout or whatever that was. Because they realized, wait a second, even if we did that, they had multiplayer, zombies, campaign, BR, like all at launch. And then I remember, like, there was a quote evidently from one of the leaders at like 343 or something. Granted, this was a little while ago, but they're like, what do you think of like doing a Halo BR, like a battle royale? And his answer was, the only BR we're interested in is the battle rifle. And if that's their stance, like, no, we can't, like, someone in there has to have data. Like, guys, BRs sell. Like, that's what everyone's playing. Like, swallow your pride or like your Halo roots, whatever. Like, make a battle royale with the multiplayer. There can be all these things, as we've seen with games like Call of Duty right now. You have Warzone, and that's completely separate from multiplayer, and you can enjoy things separately. You can intermingle. But like, it's just their refusal to innovate and experiment and push, because I think they did a little bit with that with like Halo 4, and there was just so much pushback. But I think they were so focused on the vitriol from the Halo veterans that they're like, oh right, like, okay, we can't. And I think because it wasn't their game, like Bungie's what started Halo. Bungie was the able to one to like push, even if I didn't agree with some of the changes, Bungie still pushed Halo where it needed to go with Halo Reach. Yeah. Like, that was a change that needed to happen. I didn't agree with all the changes, but like, that was something drastic enough that was still widely popular with a lot of people. And that's what should have kept happening, is keeping this familiar feel, but pushing the game forward. And this just feels like I went in a time machine, not in like a good way. It's like Blue said, he hasn't been interested in Halo. This is the one that should get him interested. And I would think most people that weren't interested in Halo are not interested in it after that trailer. They're not going to be like, oh, this has sold me. I got to get Halo Infinite.
Yeah, it's like this delicate dance for like beloved IPs. And I feel like sometimes we've seen that with like cultural stuff like Star Wars or like any like really big fandom stuff, where it's like you want somebody who in charge of it who understands the legacy, but you also don't want them to be too precious with it, because then it's like, oh, I don't want to do anything, it's just too precious. And then it's like, well, then it's boring. And we've seen that before. And the only people who are like, yes, it's very precious, we love it, are like, you've already sold them. They're already going to buy it anyway. You need, you know, look at this cool new shiny thing. And you got to find a way to make it be precious and shiny. And I think, unfortunately, it sounds like they did not find that balance.
They need a Dave Filoni, all right? which Star Wars still hasn't given Dave Filoni the power, bro. Give it to him, bro. But like, my point here is, you see how Call of Duty has basically managed to reinvent itself by not even reinventing itself.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
Call
went
of Duty
like
is
Call of
still
Duty
doing
like
the same thing.
was on the decline year after
For
year
a
after
long,
year.
for a while, it was like, man, Call of Duty is really struggling. But their strategy was, hey, if we're gonna like do all our old shit, why don't we just do all of it at the same time? And then they were like, "You fuck it, put a fucking BR. We got the money."
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah,
here they
exactly.
are, like,
That's what you want. It's just like, oh, like
and it,
respond to like what's happening in the world right now and be able to like, it's not too precious. It's like, yeah, give that too. Yeah, oh, that's cool. Just like
Call
that.
of Duty, baby. We could do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking
And that's
VR.
Adapt or
that's the
Whatever.
die.
way. That's the right way to do, especially with especially with an IP. I don't even like Halo, but I'm like, oh, Halo, like that's like the Xbox game.
Yeah.
And you would think like, oh well, Halo synonymous with quality, but like every time I hear about Halo, it's like, oh, how'd you feel about Halo 5? Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, Halo 5.
Yeah.
The game before that, dude, I don't even
Like
want to.
we don't even remember that. Like we forget about that one. The one it's just that the way I look at it is like look at like God of War. What Santa Monica Studios had to do to reinvent God of War.
Oh my god,
They did they literally flipped that game on its head.
I'm finna bust.
Yeah, like you went from this dude who has no story and just hates and kills. And they're like, okay, but what if like none of that? He's chill. He has a son and there's none of that rage, pretty much. Now let's make a game out of that and not have everyone You know what happens? Game of the year. People regard it as one of the greatest games of all times. Yeah, like perfect scores. It's one of my greatest games of all times. And they were able to take an IP and completely change it. And the thing is, Halo didn't even need to do something like that. Like they didn't need a literal 180. But like that's an example of how you can take something, still at its foundation, respect what it is, move it forward, and adapt it to modern times, which is what Halo should have done. And again, we have only seen we've only seen 10 minutes of the campaign. But from what I could tell, I'm not going to play the campaign. Like that's pretty much what that like. I'll probably play through it, but it's not like day one, dude. I got to get through that. And secondly, again, it's like they don't know their audience. You know what most people are waiting for, especially people who aren't interested in Halo? What's multiplayer like? I hear all about Halo multiplayer. Don't even touch on it. Don't even tease it. No reveal. No reveal of the Battle Royale, which again, even if you're like, keep going Battle Royale, get out of my Halo, you Fortnite kid. Don't play it.
Play it.
Yeah, just don't play it.
But the attention it brings inherently allows your game to expand, because look at Respawn, right? Respawn was like Titanfall 2 did not do well. One of the best games I've ever played in my entire life, but it didn't do well. I love Titanfall. And I'm so happy because I'm not the biggest fan of BRs, but Apex did so well, and that just makes me happy because it's like, oh, dude, now look at all the power Respawn has now because they were brave enough to say, hey, you know what? Titanfall BR? Why the fuck not?
Yeah. And we're not going to put the Titans in.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, all the Titanfall players are like, what?
Wait, what?
So, like, wait, this is like in the Titanfall universe, but there's no Titans. How are you going to do that? No, yeah. It worked better. So we took that gamble, and everyone's like, yeah, this is sick.
And look at all the freedom EA has given them to just, like, go balls to the wall. I'm so excited for the projects Respawn's going to do now because of all the things that they're
trusted. They can be trusted.
They're trusted now. They have all this draw with EA now because they've, at this point, Apex is like one of their biggest money makers, and EA is just, it literally all came from Respawn being like, Titanfall, fuck it, why not? Just fucking do it.
They're like, wait a minute, we can make money from games that aren't just sports card packs? Like, hold up. Okay, let's see where this can go.
Yeah. I think you should, like, kind of what I was thinking about earlier is like, the goal should be to make a good game, like you were talking about with God of War. Like the goal should be to make a good game and then make it in the universe of
Yeah.
the IP that you're looking for. You
Yeah.
know, like technically God of War
Make
could
it
be about
work.
any father-son, you know,
Yeah.
like you're going through a campaign, it's a, you know, hero story, whatnot. That could fit in many different things, but it's a good game at the base.
Yeah.
It doesn't rely on the God of War IP to like
Or
carry it. It's like,
nostalgia or
yeah.
any of that
Like
stuff.
the good old days. Yeah.
Like and like graphically, I think someone had a good point. Like just the art style of classic Halo like that is just outdated. Like you don't see those art styles anymore. And there was like this funny tweet. I saw somebody retweet where it's like, it's stylized. Like it's stylized art. And then it's pictures of, no, this is stylized. And it shows like all these games that have their own stylized art that does something where it's like unique. But Halo, it looked like I was looking at like action figures. They just stood out. It was so strange. Like
The
that's just
style
why
is 2010.
it's
Not
just
the style.
2020.
Like when a Halo inspired, like when Splitgate looks better than a AAA IP. Splitgate has like a small fraction of the dev base, right?
like
it's like
a handful.
It's like, bro, come on, we got what's happening here?
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I'm praying somehow that this is a build from super long ago, and somehow they're going to make amazing strides in like 4 months. Realistically, probably not. And somebody's like, well, ray tracing is going to be in it, which would help, but also apparently not even at release. It's like, what? You've had how long? And it feels like this is half baked, and you've had so long to work on it. And all this the reason I'm so upset about it comes from my roots. Like, I want to like Halo. I loved Halo. That was my jam. And I want to love Halo again. But I can't love this again. Like, so many people.
I can't go back.
Yeah, like,
back, bro.
That's why, like, Halo 3 came out, like, on PC on Master Chief Collection. It's been fun to mess around. But, like, I get in the game and I go, oh, I remember why I liked this game, and I remember why I wouldn't like it now. Like, I constantly say, yeah,
I
like
expect other systems or menus or features, whatever. Like,
that's why I always say, like, in the past 5 years and so, if Halo 3 had come out, it wouldn't have been what it was. It would have been enjoyed by some, I'm sure, but it would not have been the sheer force that it was. Because like Halo was a bang. Like Halo Combat Evolved and people like, this is sick. Halo 2 revolutionized multiplayer, and then Halo 3 just doubled down, and it was like just banger after banger after banger. It's like, this is incredible. But now it's like, yeah, they're playing it too safe, and they have to commit to whatever they're trying to do. But right now, whatever we saw was so uninspiring. And I was just in disbelief that this is what they chose to reveal with, out of everything they could have revealed with. And then they revealed like 4K screenshots. I'm like, okay, yikes. Like, it wasn't just the video. If this is the stuff they're showing, like, again, graphics aren't everything, but it speaks, one, how big of a studio you are, how much money you have. You're trying to tout this new Xbox One, whatever, Series X, and its power. And why does it look like this? Why are other games able to accomplish, like, well, we're trying to push 60 frames and 4K. Other games are managing to do that and, excel. And then again, yeah, I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima right now. I'm like, this game is beautiful. And it's on a current gen, not next gen. And it didn't have the same budget and stuff. And it's just like, who
is responsible for this atrocity?
So that's why whenever they reveal multiplayer, hopefully that saves it. Because at the end of the day, that's the longevity of it. But like, if that's the core of the game right there, it ain't looking good.
Ooh. I do wonder about like some of all the stuff that I like have read about game development and stuff like that. Like you say like, oh, it's had 5 years, but like, learning all we did about Anthem, and even just like I read like, Jason Schreier's book about the development of Destiny, like how much of that time is spent haggling over what it should be. Are people having the conversation that we're having about like, oh, should we innovate too much or should we do this? And then like that just like digs into production time so much that finally it's like,
I know.
fucking throw something Who knows?
I know a lot of that time, especially at the beginning, was spent finally deciding, hey guys, we need to upgrade our engine. And so I'm sure a
true.
lot of that was making a new engine, teaching people how to use the new engine. But if
Mhm.
this is what we're getting out of it, why did you do a new engine in the first place? And if
Mhm.
so, why are you revealing it now? Like, if you needed more
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
then do that. Like, push it out another year or something. But like, also from an outside perspective, that people that don't know development, it's like, we've been waiting this long and this is what you've got.
Mhm.
And so it's like with game developers and anyone that makes entertainment, like, it's not their job to be like, hey, this is how hard it was to make. It's their
Yeah.
job to be like, hey, this is what we made. Enjoy it regardless. Like, it's not our job to make you understand what we had to go through for this, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the
absolutely.
artist.
Not to excuse it all. I'm
No, I mean,
curious, like what kind of shenanigans went on behind the scenes to
'cause-
to be where we're at right now.
Because I'll say I can't like talk about anyone I've talked, but from the past few years, I've heard whispers and stuff from certain people and people that work there, and they're like, it's not looking good.
Mm.
But then some of them would be like, but it's been like, I haven't been there like a year or like 2 years. So we'll see how. So I'm like, all right, maybe it's turned around. And then it's like, it felt like it revealed today, and everything I'd been told, I was like, yep,
Makes sense.
they were right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like there was some internal struggles. Let me tell you that. From what if what I know is right, like it was a supernova, like implosion.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, but it's like, how do you drop the ball on this? Somebody higher up needs to be like, all right, hey, look, I don't care. This is it. This is what we're doing. Let's go. Let's go. And it just, I'm just upset.
Like, I just want to vent. Yeah.
And I just wanted a good game. And maybe it still will. But I'm going off what we saw. And that, pardon my pun, but that ain't it, Chief.
He's brought it back around. Whoa.
Thank you. All right. Let's talk about something else, because I swear to God, I keep going about this.
Because I'm depressed and I want to.
Yeah, I'm getting myself worked up.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to the Patreon questions, what is there else to talk about besides Fruit? You have been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima. Danielle, you know anything about that game?
I've seen lots of screenshots. I definitely think it, aside from the Dark Souls parry type of combat, I feel like everything else sounds interesting, but I'm just not good at that type of timing like combat type stuff. Same as in like the Jedi
Fallen Order
is like,
See,
I
that's
have to
fair.
play it on like easy mode, because I'm just like, I just want to yeet around and discover the stories and stuff, and explore the world for those type of games. So yeah, but God, I've been seeing some gameplay, I've been seeing some screenshots, and I'm like, okay.
I think it's genius putting
very
photo
pretty.
mode,
Yeah.
free marketing. Like, that's
Yeah.
everyone I've talked to is like, have you played yet? No, but I've been seeing the screenshots. Like,
Yeah.
That's something
It's,
Sony does so well. They always have great photo modes, and that's literally free advertisement for their games right on social media.
Yeah.
mhm.
It's crazy. Destiny photo mode when?
That's what I was about to say.
Oh,
A lot of people have been
Please.
petitioning for that.
I've been
I
waiting
think-
for photo mode for so long. Like, it's such a Destiny, perfect example. Not the greatest graphics, but the art style is so good. It
But
doesn't
even
matter.
then, Destiny 2 looks miles above whatever we just
Oh,
saw.
exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's because God, man, the art team Bungie always kills it.
And their skyboxes too. Oh, so good.
It's insane. It's insane. But
One last thing before
Yeah.
it's just freaking Halo.
okay.
Like, there was
We're
a
going back.
comparison photo of the AR from Halo Reach to the AR from the gameplay we saw, and it looks like a new toy. It does, like the one in Halo Reach, which was what, 2010 on Xbox 360, looked miles above. Like, I just don't understand. And some people are trying to defend it, like, oh, it was an alpha. This is what they were preparing, but like, this is what they have.
Yeah.
This is a $500 million title, bro. Like,
Yeah, like, this needs to blow me away.
Yeah.
And-
Literally, first impressions are everything in life.
And if it's not
in
blowing
games.
away a Halo fan, for the most
Yeah.
part, it's not going to be blowing away non-Halo fans. So,
Yeah.
Oh, and then as far as the Xbox rest of the conference goes, really irked me that I think Halo was the only gameplay. Everything else was cinematics. And it was supposed to be like, this is the next gen. Like, cool. I think there was a little Forza in game. But for the most part, it's just like, but it's like Everfall or Everwild, the new Rare game. Looks pretty. I'm seeing, and everyone's like, this is sick. But I was like, I don't even know what it is. Yeah, like, what do we do? What's the gameplay like? I don't know. Maybe that's just, for me now, it's like, don't give me pretty trailers. Show me what the game is.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, that's what's going to, drive me. And that's why, like, I usually like Sony, like last year, D3, whatever. They're like, screw the trailers. Here's like gameplay. Like, that's what I want to see.
Now, people like gave me shit because they're like, dude, this is my favorite E3 conference ever. And people were like, what do you mean, bro? That's such a hot take. And I was like, bro, I
saw games.
Literally, it was just like, they were like, here's gameplay. Like, it was like, and people were like, what do you mean? It was just like, it wasn't even a presentation. And I was like, no, it was a presentation because it wasn't.
Yeah.
They just straight up gave us, and that's how that's my gold standard, and that's how Sony's been doing it the past couple of years. And I hate to come off as a fanboy, but like at this point, like it's just like expecting the bare minimum. It shouldn't be like, this shouldn't be like, oh, so you favor this person, or oh, you favor this. Like, no, dude, like I just want the bare minimum. Just show me gameplay, please. I'm playing the game. I would like to see what I'm going to play.
Yeah. Most of the time, it's like, I'll probably play. Just show me. Like, get me excited. Rope me in. Do something. The only one that really interested me, well, except for Fable, but God knows that's going to be like years out. Was it Avowed or something? I believe, which was another cinematic trailer. But the reason it interested me was first-person RPG from Obsidian Entertainment in what looked to be like a medieval world. Like, I immediately saw medieval. I'm like,
you're in.
All right, you got me interested. And then they're like, first person RPG from Obsidian. I'm like, okay. They have a repertoire or whatever. And I think that's the problem Xbox has too, is they're not doing enough new IPs. Yeah. Like, they have like 15 years ago, like I remember playing Halo and Gears and all this stuff. But 15 years now, it's not going to be like, I remember playing Halo Infinite and Gears 7 or like whatever, like Xbox or like PlayStation. They're like, all right, screw it. Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, like a reimagined God of War, some other new IPs. And again, take this from a dude who just played. I don't have any stance in the console wars anymore. I'm on PC. At the end of the day, can I play it on PC? That's mainly what I care about. So right now I know I'm going to buy a PS5 and I'm not going to buy an Xbox. Especially because I can play all of them on PC. But like, if I had to choose right now, because last console wars, when PS4 and Xbox One came out, I was actually only console player. I made the decision. If I was still in that place right now, I would still choose PS5 right now over Xbox.
Wow.
It's just, I don't know. As a gamer, I'm just disappointed right now.
It hurts.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I feel like some of PS4 exclusive titles are like, I mean, I bought a PS4 to play I think it was Horizon Zero Dawn. And
so
like
good.
I loved The Last Guardian. I loved what was the other one that I was just thinking of? That's like PS4 exclusive. But like, yeah, they have such good games. Of course, 14 days till Horizon Zero Dawn on PC.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. So anything with a red-haired protagonist, I'm like, I'm in.
I'm in.
I appreciate that.
And it's a female. It just checks all the boxes.
Yep, I'm into it. So yeah, I totally get that. PS4 seems to be separating itself quite a bit, but
well, that was the big difference I think that happened this console generation was PlayStation had these exclusives that were like must plays. Xbox didn't have that anymore. There were like a couple, but not a lot of like new IPs, and I think that's why we've seen the separation. Now, I will admit what they're doing though with like the Game Pass is really big, and I think
so
like
tight. Yeah, crazy value.
Yeah, like that business move and stuff, super smart. what they're doing with that is like miles ahead. It's a super good deal if you play Xbox, which is like, all right, why do I want to play Xbox? I don't know. That's my thing. So again, we shouldn't have brought Halo up because God, I could just.
Here you go.
We're back again.
All right. Let's take it. Fruit. Let go.
Just take.
Let go, Mr. Fruit. He's out of focus now too. Oh God.
Yeah, oh God. He's really upset.
That's how bad he is. Okay, now we're gonna get Mr. Fruit off of the Halo talk because the stress in this man's eyes, you can see it.
Sad.
So we're gonna go.
And
to
I know
Patreon
the worst part is people can be like, "You're wrong. You're just a hater."
See, the worst part is
you have expectations and they were not met, and that's okay.
The thing is, if Rob were here, he'd be saying the exact same thing. I have no doubt Rob would be like, "Yo, this shit looked dog shit." He would Fruit said it in a much nicer way. So be thankful that Rob's not here because Rob would have gone in.
Rob was in the DMs because he wasn't. He's like been out, and in our like group DM, he's just like, "Yo, like was Halo tight?" And I just put in nah. And then a couple people were like, "Oh yeah, I actually thought it was sick," but I was like, "Rob's gonna be like, all right, yeah, they said it was cool, but Christian said no." Like, all right, he's probably onto something.
Christian knows.
I'm sure Rob's probably looking at that thing, like Sydney's like sitting next to him in bed or something. He's just like, Jesus, like probably doesn't even finish it. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's get the Patreon questions.
To get away from the awful Halo talk, let's start with our first Patreon question. Radiant G's first question. I actually like this question a lot. Assuming one time in your school days you traded something to a friend for something of theirs, what was your most memorable trade?
Oh, shoot. I think I remember.
This goes deep.
Okay, it never happened, but I'll explain why. I had this Pokemon card, and this other guy had this Dragon Ball Z comic or manga, whatever.
Oh.
And I was like, I gotta check that out. Like, I'll trade you. And then I forget what the Pokemon card is, but he's like, yeah, dude. Like, I already read this anyway. Like, let's do it. And I remember we were gonna trade the next day at school, and I was on the phone. I hang up, and my dad comes in my room, and he says, "You're not doing that." I was like, "What?" And that was back then. You know, you have like the telephone line, so he was holding like mute or hold or whatever, and listening in on the call.
What?
Because 8-year-old me is up to nefarious things, like what?
Yeah.
And he's like, "That's yours." Like, I don't give you permission to sell. I forget what he went on, but I felt mortified. But I was so excited to get that Dragon Ball Z manga, and never did. That's what sticks out to me.
Wow.
The trade that should have been.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Damn.
I hated that. The little like, you see someone on the line, you like pick it up and like,
be quiet.
Like someone else on the other line. Nope.
No, I was about to make a call, but I
yeah,
heard
no,
you were on, so I'm
that's
hanging up now.
It's weird. No.
Yeah.
Do you have a memorable trade, Danielle?
I was homeschooled, so.
Oh no! Not homeschool.
Yeah,
but
like,
you didn't get the trade.
Ooh.
I've nothing against homeschool. Like I just.
No, like I'm a silly person in general, and so I feel like when I tell people like, "Oh, I was homeschooled," the main response that I get is like, "That explains a lot." Yes, but yeah, I don't know. I was homeschooled through junior high, then I went to a super strict private Christian junior high, like 6th through 8th, and then I went to public high school. So I guess technically I like had high school, but I'm still racking my brains. Yeah, like I was all over, but my social skills were quite stunted. So I don't think that I was capable of like interacting with my peers in a way that was like, let's trade something. I would just be like, freeze up or whatnot. Yeah, I can't, nothing comes to mind.
I went to public schools and my social skills are still stunted. So,
do you have a trade, Blue?
I think I've told you guys about this trade I've shared this story before. I don't know if it was on the podcast, but my most memorable trade is not a good one. So I remember because my friend had a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards and he was big into cards, and I was like, oh, we should show each other our cards. So I ended up bringing like a bunch of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he brought his, and we're like, oh, I don't have this card, you have this card, and we ended up trading a couple cards. I think like he had like this really sick like red eyes black dragon I wanted, and I ended up giving him like one of my dark magicians or some shit. And because I was huge into dragons as a kid, like I was blue eyes white dragon or die
My
type of
spirit
dude.
animal.
My spirit animal. So what ended up happening is he, and I know he did this, he ended up this was like the most criminal thing I've ever done. It's not that criminal, but like thinking back, I was like, damn, like I screwed that dude over. He ended up stealing my cards out of my backpack during recess. And I know he did it because I remember him leaving from recess to go get something from his backpack. My shit was gone. Nobody else knew I had my Yu-Gi-Oh cards there but him. So I was just like, where's my Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
Drop the name, dude. Let's dox him.
Yeah, name and shame.
No, don't worry. I can't do that.
Oh, we took care of that. He ain't
So-
around no more. You know what I'm saying?
So I remember being like, dude, this fucked up. Why would he do that? But as a kid, I'm just like, he wouldn't do that. So it was like back in my head. So one night, one weekend, I ended up staying over at his house because we were still friends. And I remember looking through his cards, and I was like, wait a minute, that's my fucking blue eyes white dragon. Wait a minute, these are all my cards. Because there's like 20 cards I brought to school. They're like my favorites. And I was like, these are my fucking cards. So what I ended up doing, fuck that guy. What I ended up doing was I ended up not only taking my cards back, I ended up low key. This was over the summer. I ended up low key taking his whole binder of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and putting it in my backpack. I was so mad.
How'd you
I
even
was
manage
pissed.
that? Wouldn't he notice?
Yeah.
I did this right when my parents were picking me up. So as I was leaving, not as I was leaving, but like when they were like, "Oh, your parents are here," I was like, "Oh, let me go to the bathroom real quick." I ended up sneaking into his room, putting his binder into my backpack, and I was like, "Well, see you later, buddy." Never saw that. Never saw that kid again. Fuck
Screw
that
him.
kid.
Seriously, fuck him. It was like retrieval tax. I think it was owed to you.
That's my tax. I had to go without my favorite cards for like 3
Yeah,
months, dude.
That's
Get your
right.
I
shit
deserve
back.
that.
Plus
was the-
interest.
That was the greatest heist I ever pulled off.
Yeah.
Never saw
Really?
that. Never saw that dude again as a friend. I remember seeing him.
Only his mortal enemies.
I remember seeing him later in high school, and I was like, "Ooh."
He should be like, how
I
is
never-
Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
Never talked to him though.
It's Datto-san.
It's too free.
Whoa. I need a Datto,
Anyways.
but I don't. Datto.
Yeah, that was good. Datto. I like that. Yeah, he's trying to come up with a response.
Yeah.
He's
No,
been workshopping that for a while.
I know. There's nothing that like. Whatever. I'll keep workshopping.
Datto.
Well, next Patreon question. This question is from Punk. My question is for everybody: who's better, The Rock or Stone Cold?
Rock.
Rock.
Mainly that's because I didn't watch wrestling, and Stone Cold doesn't mean
Same.
much to me.
Really, I would
Yeah.
still pick The Rock just because The Rock is tight.
Mm.
But I think Stone
He's
Cold is
hard.
probably the more popular pick.
Really?
Like it,
For wrestling alone, but I
for-
mean,
Oh.
there wasn't
for-
really parameters. It was just who's
Yeah.
better, and The Rock's the whole package. Charisma.
yeah. Right now, tell me who's more relevant.
very. I would say like among like the wrestling audience, probably Stone Cold is like Stone Cold. But like for like normal people,
Normies.
definitely The Rock. Well, I mean, normal people in the sense of like Rock is like a straight up superstar.
Yeah, he's a household name now. He's not just a wrestling name.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll say, knowing nothing about all that wrestling stuff, I know the name Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that has to say something.
True.
But aside from that, no. You know.
The Rock.
And the watch out, the RKO thing. Where,
Okay, yeah, the meme.
Yeah.
Honestly, besides that, I don't really see a whole lot of wrestling memes anymore.
Mm-mm.
You hate to
dying
see it.
breed, just like Halo.
Oh, Pepe hands.
Move on.
Bro, move on, bro. Next Patreon question before we
Yeah,
get to
move
Halo.
on before we get stuck.
Question from Crescencio. This is a question aimed at Danielle. I see that female streamers and video gamers have a hard time in the industry because of all the trolls online. How do you overcome trolls for you?
So I think I got a little bit lucky. I'm not in my 20s. I'm in my 30s. And I don't know that I could have handled streaming, being in the public eye, all of this when I was in my 20s. I was just way too insecure. The trolls would have gotten to me a lot more. So like my only advice is just like become more comfortable with yourself, but that really only comes with time. Like,
Yeah.
I have done a lot of work to become the person that I want to be and to be really comfortable in my own skin and like be pretty secure about who I am. And so there's very few things that like trolls can say that like that I'm like, "Oh, a perfect stranger on the internet is gonna tell me that that I don't have worth." It's like, "Fuck you, I have plenty of worth. I have self-worth." You know, like, it's easy for it to roll off just because, um, got a couple of years under my belt versus God, if I was in my 20s, I would just be like I said, I was fat.
Maybe he's
I
right.
can't Yeah, I can't stream for days, and, like, it would have been a lot harder. So, yeah, just put in some work, becoming confident in your own skin and, in what you bring to the table. I'm not good at video games. Like, people come in and say, "Oh, you're terrible." I'm like, "I know,
Yeah,
but nobody's watching me for my
that
gameplay. They're
helps.
watching me because I'm charismatic and I'm entertaining and I
Exactly.
say dick a lot, in funny ways, in new combinations
And
each
you, and
time."
you and you hit him with the jokes on you. I'm living with my best friends and love my life in a house.
Yeah.
And what are you doing, loser? Get
Yeah.
fucked.
I'm winning. Like I'm yeah, so it's that's why it's so funny to me when G1 first came along to be like, "Yes, I want to join an esports org." I'm 36 and 5 days after my 36th birthday, an NFL player sent me a DM about joining his esports organization.
Hey,
I don't know that I could have written that, predicted that, or have like just life. It's crazy.
hey,
So yeah. So
you
yeah, just
just
being
let all those people that said you peaked early on in your life, but hey,
yeah. How
I'm
sad.
on the up and up. Right.
Yeah. And even like you could have little peaks. Like it does I feel like people think of life like this, but it's usually like this and then you kind of go through like, just different phases of life cuz I had a great peaks in my 20s. I'm like fucking making TV commercials for McDonald's and like fucking boss bitch on a set of 100 people just being like, "Let's go, get me fucking get me a cappuccino." That kind of shit. Like that's pretty great. And now I'm
Right away, Mr. Danielle.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Extra
So
caramel,
and then
just like you asked.
like this is cold. No, I never I never acted like that. I was just like, thank you so much. Oh, thank you for getting me a coffee. But yeah, and now I'm in a esports org with a bunch of cool people just making content. So and they're all primarily PvP focused, and I'm here to bring some dick jokes and and kind
Heck
of meme
yeah.
it up and be silly. So yeah, that's that not really advice, unfortunately. It's just get to know yourself and figure out what makes you confident and like hold on to that real hard.
Well, I
So
think it's also important though that you preface like, I think that's better being like, this is all I can say. I don't know if that's really advice. Better than like, well, let me pretend or
This
like,
is how you
yeah,
fix the problem.
yeah,
just
and
be
then
yourself.
then they hear that and be like, well, that must be it. So
Yeah.
if I can't, I think
But I
that
will
speaks
say
volumes.
something Stefan and I talk quite a bit about is like my number one thing that I find important in relationships and just like in people in general is having self-awareness. It's something that I'm very emphasize a lot in like continuing to figure out myself and being aware of like how I'm feeling, how I'm acting, just like how I feel about things. What I'm good at, what I'm bad at, being pretty honest. And I value that in Stefan as well. So that's part of it is like knowing if streaming, if content creation is in your skill set, because a lot of people come to us asking like, "Oh, I'm just a starting streamer. What advice can you give?" And I'm like, know that you can go and you can work and you can grind as hard as possible. But if that's not your skill set, you need to be honest with yourself and just be like, no amount of grinding is going to get me anywhere because it's not a skill set that I have. Entertaining or, just figure out what you bring to the table and emphasize that. And if you can't find anything, then just like do a little bit more self-awareness and self-digging. So I don't know, can be a little hard, but totally worth it. So yeah.
Don't chase your dreams, kids.
Yeah, just
Right,
you're gonna
this-
fail. So just sit down.
Yeah, don't even
Oh my-
bother. You're just gonna set yourself up for failure.
It's miserable. It's a harsh road.
No,
You don't want to
just,
do
like,
it.
Emphasize your skill set and like run with that. And
I mean, that's similar to the people who like start streaming and are immediately like, donate to me. I can't afford rent.
yeah,
Like, then okay, why are you doing this?
yeah,
Like, you have to be responsible about your decisions. So like, my advice too is ideally with something like this, it should always start as like a hobby or full time if you're financially able to, or like someone else isn't depending on you, something like that. Be responsible. But if it starts from a hobby too, odds are you're gonna have a better chance because it comes from a place of passion rather than now. I mean, rightfully so too. People see that the industry and everything, just like everything else. Where there's money and stuff, and when there's going to be money, there's going to be people just trying to take advantage of it or be like, oh, I could get rich quick becoming a ninja. That can't be that hard. And then they're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Why aren't I swimming in the mixer deals yet? I don't get it.
And sometimes I think I'm fascinated with this as well with comedians, because sometimes you can go to like a stand-up comedy thing and you can feel the tension because the comedian really is desperate and they really want you to laugh. And that's kind of off-putting. And I feel like that's for like streamers and content creators as well, is like, if they're like, I really need this, I need this to work out. Oh, I'm so funny, right? And it's like, you're like, oh, okay, calm down. But like, for somebody who starts it as a hobby because they enjoy it, or like me as a self-improvement project, to just be like, I hate this thing in my face. And my first stream was like, I could barely string a full sentence together because my brain was like, there's a lens, there's also chat, there's also gameplay. I was also learning mouse and keyboard. Like my processing power, my CPU in my brain was like maxed, super maxed. So, but it was kind of entertaining, and I wasn't like, I have to make this work, otherwise I'm ruined. It was just, people can sense that tension and that like neediness, and it's not entertaining. So you're just like, just chill, just figure out what you bring to the table and run with it. So
I think we have time for our last Patreon question. This one's by Sir Jumbie.
Thanks, Jumbie.
What is your hottest take? I know what mine always is, because everyone always tells me it's my hottest take. Is that I like Korra better than the original Avatar.
That is,
and
I agree.
Every single time we get anything regarding, hey, what's controversial? It's I like Korra better. That's my hottest take.
Shut your mouth. I'm gonna start talking about Halo again. Do you want that?
Season 3 Korra is the pinnacle of Avatar, and if you disagree, then I respect that, bro, because at the end of the day, everyone has opinions on things.
I'm gonna rewatch it soon, and when I do, I'll let you know. Having such a long time.
I wish I could tell you to skip season 2, but like there's some important things in season 2 that affect 2, 3, and 4. It's
I will say briefly though, Blue, I'm at about episode 45 in Brotherhood. I'm making my way. I'm cranking.
Dude.
So
but do you like it right so far?
Yeah. I will say it was a little slow to start. It took me a little while to like, okay, but around like episode 10 or 15, I was like, all right, okay, I'm in.
It's like a big. The show just continuously gets better as it goes on. So I love the show.
Danielle, do you have a hot take?
I was gonna say, I think it's probably the answer to that last question. Part of the answer was just like, you might not have what it takes. Content creation might not be your skill set, which can sound harsh, but
so just like that, like, not everyone can.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much lip service that people who have made it big will tell everyone else, like, just grind really hard, and it's like you can grind, like
as much as you
want. For me,
want,
I'm not going to be a professional NFL player, no matter how hard you say. Just grind hard.
Never say never.
No, but sometimes I feel like you should say never. So yeah, it might just be like, figure out what your skill set is and a little bit of what interests you, maximize those instead of just like that looks neat over there, and it's like.
I mean, ultimately, like if you're doing something for the monetary gain, you can grind as hard as you want. The reason it works for so many people is because they love doing it. So
Mhm.
they open themselves to more opportunities for being lucky. And some
Yeah.
people never get lucky, but for so many people it's like
And I
you could never be lucky and you could never make it a career, but as long as you had fun doing it, that's the most important part.
and I think in industry like this, and there's other industries, not to say like content creation or whatever is like the only one, but inherently you're gonna have a better chance and get farther because what most people don't realize is how time consuming it can be. And unless you already inherently have that passion, you're not going to want to put in that time without seeing that immediate result.
Mhm.
Whereas if it's a passion, you're more willing to just see it through and just do it because, or like throw in this extra time because I love what I'm doing, that kind of stuff. Which you see, like, for instance, with like business owners, like small business owners and stuff, when it's like their thing that they're involved in, they're going to be putting in more work just because they love it and that's theirs or whatever. Whereas someone who's just like, I just want the money or whatever, might just punch in, punch out kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I think if you enjoy it, that inherently gives you an advantage. But again, you can grind all you want. I can guarantee there's somebody out there right now that's been grinding that has maybe the best content on YouTube, but
Mhm.
never going to make it. Probably doesn't even make
Mhm.
a living. Probably can't even buy lunch with all the money he's made, It just
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah.
My hot take would probably be, I can't really think of one, so I'm just going to say this. I don't know if it's a hot take anyway, or if it could be considered one. Rewatching movies and shows is boring.
Ooh, disagree. Well, for me,
There
it's
you
going
go.
to be more about reading books that I've read before, but I still watch movies and not really shows, too much of a time consumption, but movies and books that I've read before, it's like going to visit an old friend. Ooh, yeah, this is comfy. I can't wait to see what happens again.
Yeah, see, for me, I need something new. I know what's going to happen, and for me, it can't keep my interest.
You don't ever forget? You're not like, oh, yeah.
That is the one caveat, and unfortunately, it takes a very long time.
Okay.
Like, if I remember, like, oh, there's this movie. Oh, I love this movie.
Yeah.
I maybe remember how it ends or something like that, but like, I don't remember the in-betweens. Watch it. But that's like 8 years in between.
Okay.
And then it's like, all
Okay.
right, I'll see it in another 8 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, I know I really love something if I've seen it like 3 times.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's like a threshold. And really, the only things I've seen 3 times would be like The Last Airbender, the Batman trilogy. That might be it. And I just don't rewatch anything else. So I don't know.
I get that. Yeah. I forget a lot, so that's I have I guess a shit memory because there's so many things, or maybe I just consume like a ton. Like I read so many books and so many things like pass that it's like something will spark my memory and I'm like, oh yeah, I really liked that. I should watch that again. And then like we'll remember the characters and like some of the things, but it still feels like there's enough new things that I don't remember that it's interesting. But I get how it could be like, yeah, I don't get people who are like, I watch this movie at least once a month. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
ew.
Well, for me, it's like when I do something, especially like entertainment, that I focus on that one thing. Like that's my focus, and I wanted to hold my focus. And unless I've like completely forgotten it,
Mm-hmm.
then it won't hold my focus. It just won't. I know something's gonna happen, or I know how it's all gonna play out. So it's like
Your like mind wanders and you're like, what? Yeah.
so.
People who watch the same 5 Christmas movies every Christmas, I'm like that. No.
Can't do
So
that, no.
I'm with you. I'm with you there. I get it. I'm half with you and half
I'll take it.
shame.
But I'm
on
sure
you.
that's probably a pretty hot take because there are stands out there that's probably like, I just binge watched The Office for the 8,000th time. I'll have you know.
Yeah, totally.
I wish I could. Because what ends up happening is I want to watch something and then it's like, seeing that. And it's like, I can't watch it again. I need to somehow find something I haven't watched that I know I'm going to like. and then that becomes very hard. So I think it's more of a curse.
You're like, I wish. It's a hot take, but also I'm sad about it.
I do. Like all the people that are able to do that and enjoy it, I envy you. I wish I could, but I can't.
Sad.
Well,
So does that conclude our podcast, Blue?
I believe that concludes our podcast. Danielle, actually, hold on. I should start with me. You guys can find me everywhere at BlueWestlo. Fruit, where can they find you?
Google Mr. Fruit. Maybe you'll find me. Maybe you won't. Where can the internet find you, Danielle?
Same. Basically, if you Google TravelDanielle, you'll find the youtube.com/TravelDanielle, twitch.com/TravelDanielle. Twitter's like travel_Danielle. Fucking God, I want the original. Yeah. And then Instagram is TravelDanielle M. So F.
Trust me. We've yet to meet someone that's as bad as mine. So don't worry about it. Mine are terrible. So it is what it is. Daniel, I want to thank you so much for taking your time. Apologies, we got the Halo, and I just
we crashed into Halo, and
just thinking about it right now. So
yeah.
Aside from that, thank you for taking your time to spend it with us. We hope you enjoy your buddy time with Jazz and Amy for the period that you'll be living with them. And that's this episode of GG Over Easy. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next Sunday, whether it be video if you watch or audio if you listen. Thank you very much. Bye.
Arigatou gozaimasu.